Hello friends, how are you doing today? My name is Mary and this is Happily Ever Esch. So today I am doing the Sisterhood of the World tag. I was tagged by April over at Getting Huggo with It. Her channel is awesome. I will link it down below, and I was so excited that she tagged me. I'm so excited to answer these questions. I think it's such a cool tag. And I'll link all the other ladies that April tag channels down below, so if they do the video too, you guys can go and see it. So I will get started with April's questions. Question number 1, what author have you not read but that you would really like to? And I have quite a few for that. The first being Daphne du Maurier. I have Rebecca here, but I would just like to get to Daphne du Maurier sometime. She's a modern classic author. She seems to write more gothic tales, but she is very well loved by a lot of different readers, and I think it is about time that I get to du Maurier. I would also like to get to Toni Morrison. I have 3 different Toni Morrison books, which is just kind of ridiculous. I need to read some Toni Morrison. So the first I have is The Song of Solomon, then I have Beloved, and then I have Sula, which I think Sula is the one that I'm going to start with. This story is just so intriguing. The tale of 2 friends and their friendship and how they grew up together and grew apart, and then looking at them. I don't know, this one just sounds really intriguing to me. But if you have read Toni Morrison and know a good place to start with her, please let me know. And then the last one that I have here with me that I would like to read is Margaret Atwood. I haven't read any Margaret Atwood. I would really like to get to The Handmaid's Tale, especially since there is a TV show coming out about this, but also I just think this is a very timely and important read in the current political climate that we live in. So I'm really looking forward to getting to Margaret Atwood, and hopefully by the end of 2017 I will have those 3 authors checked off my new to me list. Question number 2, what is the scariest book that you have ever read? I am a big fat wimp. I don't read scary books, so I'm honestly gonna have to say The Witches by Roald Dahl. I attempted to read this book so many times when I was younger, and I just couldn't. I would get to a certain part where the scarier parts of The Witches came out, and I couldn't do it. And I really enjoyed Roald Dahl as a child, but nope. So I'm a wimp, and that is the scariest book that I've read. Question 3. If you could only read one genre for the rest of your life, what would it be? My jump the gun answer for this was classics, but then the more I thought about it, the more I think I would say, if it's even possible, I don't know who the person who is not letting me read or buy other genres, but I think it would be short stories, because one, you could read classics, you could read modern work, you know, short stories kind of encapsulates both of those types of books. Also, I think there's a lot of interpretation about short stories. There are short story novels where, you know, someone could say, this is a short story collection. Even though they're interconnected, they're still like written in like a short story format. So I think to be sneaky, and I enjoy short story collections. I enjoy short fiction. I like that pacing. So yeah, I think short stories. What is your favorite dystopian book? I am going to be so boring and say 1984 and The Hunger Games. I'm going with those stereotypical answers because I love both of those stories. And so yeah, those are my favorite dystopians. Do you read one book at a time or many? Traditionally, like growing up, I could only read one book. I could not wrap my mind around the idea of reading multiple stories at once, but now, and especially in the last year, I definitely juggle 2 or 3. I usually always have an audiobook going on, and then I usually have like a main read, and then like a classic or a nonfiction or something that takes me a little more time and is a little slower. Or if I'm listening to a nonfiction on audiobook, I'll have a short story collection going on. So yeah, definitely I can have more, but no more than 2 or 3. I definitely can't have a ton going on at once. This is a really sweet question. What book do you go back to when you need a reminder of who you are? I have 2 for this. One is the Book of Ruth in the Bible. I love the Book of Ruth. I love the story of family and sisterhood and friendship in that book, and I think it is just a beautiful story, and so I love that book in the Bible. And then also Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I absolutely love that story. It's one of the only books that I have reread multiple times. It is just beautiful to me. I love Jane. She is just so strong and just a beautiful character, and I love that story. And I think because I read it when I was really young, and then have reread it again as an older teenager and then as an adult, I think that it's really just kind of something that I keep reading at different stages of my life, and that just makes it have a deep connection in my heart. Favorite film adaptation? I'm gonna say Mansfield Park. I'll insert like the movie cover here, but I absolutely love that film. Now, it is a very loose adaptation onto the book of Mansfield Park. I've heard that a lot of the things that they weave into it are actually from Jane Austen's life, but I love that movie. It is so great, and if you didn't like Mansfield Park, the book, I still think you should watch the movie because the movie is wonderful. The acting I thought was so good. I loved the setting. I loved everything about that movie, and I have rewatched it so many times. It used to be on Netflix. I don't think it is anymore, but yes, I loved that adaptation of Mansfield Park. What are you most excited to read in 2017? I don't know. Like, I don't have a new release or something that I'm excited to come out. So I'm going to say what I'm most excited to read is one person's complete work of short stories. So like either Flannery O'Connor's complete works. There are some other authors. I just heard from Bree Hill's channel about Clarice Lispector, and I'm pretty sure there's a complete book of her works. So yeah, I would just like to have one author's and read all of the short fiction that they have published. So I'm really excited to do that in 2017, and it's something that I think I'm going to start in the summer and maybe do throughout the year, but I'm excited to do that. Do you read self-help? I don't read a ton of self-help books. I'd say the most recent book that I think could be classified that I read is The Power of Habit. This was a story all about, or not a story, this was nonfiction all about habits, how they are formed in our brains, how we can control them, how they can benefit us in different parts of our life, how they can hurt us in different parts of their life. There were a lot of like anecdotal stories in it, but I did think that I gleaned some good information about habits, and as someone who I think just as people who can tend to form bad habits, and habits are really powerful in our life, I think this was a cool book to read and kind of learn about that cycle and maybe how you can overcome it or change it to work better in a more positive way in your life. The last question was, what did you hate reading in school? I never really hated reading anything in school, and especially in high school, because we did not have that much assigned reading. And so like whenever we got it, I was like, ah, yes, like I was so excited about it. But I think probably the thing that I disliked the most was The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. And I don't think it's because I disliked the story. I just think it was because we had to read it aloud in class, and if you've ever read that book, there's a lot of dialect in it, and it just does not transfer well, in my opinion, to high school students who just don't care trying to read it aloud. So that was not an enjoyable experience for me, but it is one that I want to reread as an adult, just getting to read it and experience it and see if my opinions change. And then for a bonus question, one of the questions that April answered that I loved was, if you could save one book from your house, what would it be? And I just, when I heard that, I was like, ooh, I totally want to share what my book would be. And for me, it would be this old edition of A Christmas Carol. I got this at a library book sale, or no, I think it was just like a book fair maybe. I think it was actually put on by a church in St. Louis. Anyway, it's this old copy of A Christmas Carol, like I said. I just think this book is a gem. There is an inscription in the front, and it says, "To Elizabeth, from Mr. and Mrs. E.R. Roberts, Christmas 1930. And like the paper is thick, and it's just a beautiful edition of this book. It's in very good condition for being a present from the 1930s. I also just think, like, what a story behind this, you know, and also, like, who gave this beautiful book in the 30s to a little child? I don't know. And also, it just gets more and more special. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. When I opened it, there are some 4-leaf clovers that were pressed into the book, like, that have been there for God knows how long. And then there was also this little bookmark in it. I think this book has such a special story, and I bought it for like less than a quarter, and I get to keep it and share it with, I don't know, my children, and I think it's so special. I loved old books that have history, and I think this is one of them. So I am excited that I own this, and I would definitely save this. If my house was burning down, I could only save one book. The rest can be replaced. I don't know if this one could be. Alright, so that was the Sisterhood of the World book tag. I am going to tag Reading with Robin and Haley Reads, and then also Eternal Libraries. So those are the 3 people that I tag. I will leave my questions down below. I haven't sat down and thought about them, so all the questions that I ask you will be down in the comments below. I know one is going to be, what type of food do you cook for yourself now or make for yourself now that you didn't eat growing up? And just because I'm making sausage and peppers for myself tonight, and that is something that I never had growing up but is one of my favorite foods. So that's question number 1. The other 9 will be linked down below. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much, April, again for tagging me. It was so much fun to do, and I hope that you guys are having a great day, and I hope to talk to you guys soon. Bye.